Hello. I've been thinking recently about improvement, and specifically, I record these videos in advance, but I have recently had this just tremendous run on Lichess. I'm recording this on December 16th, it'll probably come out sometime in January, um, where from a previous peak of 2560 ish, I have recently not only jumped over 2600, but played lots and lots of games staying over 2600 in Bullet, which is the main thing I focus on. Where I set my peak just a week ago, and just about every day have continually improved the rating, breaking 2600 3 days ago, and moving up to 2609, a peak of 2611, but just staying over 2600. I'm not sure why it's not giving the date here. And I was thinking, what have I been doing that I wasn't doing before? Because I've clearly seen this jump in my performance. We can bring the chart out wider and, it looks bigger. But this really big jump in the last few weeks. And I haven't been particularly studying. I haven't had matches against other strong players. But I have been recording a lot of these videos. And maybe it's random, maybe it's prior work built up and I just saw the boost now. Maybe it's I just happened to be on a good streak. But it's a pretty big jump. And the only thing I can really identify as something as I've been doing recently that I haven't done before is making these videos. So it reminded me of an Elizabeth Spiegel video where she won chess educator of the year in the US, and she talked about various things that she found useful for coaching and educating. And some of it was really insightful and not related to this. Things like if your kid is playing chess, how to talk to them, not asking, after a round, did you win? Where maybe they can give a positive answer, but a negative answer is just brutal to give. But instead, like, what happened? What's the story? And I think a lot of times, if you ask people kind of what happened on specific terms, like, you know, did you win? Did you get a raise or something? Or why is what the company doing not working? They'll give a kind of default answer. And if you ask someone to tell the story of it, they'll explore it and you'll both learn more, and they'll get to explore more of it without kind of giving the automatic pre-trained response. Another interesting thing she said was a good coach, if you watch a good coach interact with the student should talk more than the coach does. The coach should be responding, the coach should be explaining, but the student should be having the chance to work things out. And I think from my kind of perspective of active learning, this is really important. If you don't spend time investing yourself and figuring out yourself, and someone else just explains it, it's not going to stick as well as if you had thought a lot about the position and then received the same explanation. Which is why in some of my videos where I try to teach something, I pause and have you try to figure out the position and then I give the move and my explanation. And so I think this recent jump has in large part come from me having to explain my moves. And, I don't play great when I'm having to explain my moves. It's certainly not when I'm at my best because it's difficult. But it's really a worthwhile endeavor, I think, because it really forces you to clarify your thinking in a way that is useful for your chess. So I think it's been good for me. I think the jump here from when I started recording kind of at the middle end of November to now has just been a remarkable jump to heights I hadn't seen before. And so I really recommend it. And you don't have to record videos to do this. Finding someone to talk to and just kind of explaining all your ideas, if that's available, is great. Even if they don't play chess, you having to verbalize it's really useful. Or just when you play Blitz or Bullet, if it's not like embarrassing for you to do, just talk out loud. Try to talk through things. Try to give more explanation. Because I think it's been useful for my chess, and thus I assume it will be useful for lots of people's. Alright, I'm going to play some 5-minute because I'm really proud of my 1-minute rating and don't want to blow it while talking yet. Could play on chess.com for 1 minute if I didn't want to hurt a rating I care about, but we're going to stay on lead chess because lead chess is the best, and play 3-minute. Alright. Let's switch up from Caro-Cans. Let's throw out a French. Alright, we got a French exchange. I'm just going to get castled as quickly as I can. As I think I've said before, I've never really prepped anything here. I'll play bishop g4 if they let me. I don't get this move. h6 seems useful to me, and provoking it does not seem useful to them. Maybe this gives them a stronger h3, because g4 would push my bishop to an awkward square. But I don't even mind this doubling. I think the f-file is potentially useful, and their pawns are actually weaker than mine. I could be wrong. That's a reasonable case that I am wrong. Alright, if I play king h7, queen d3, knight e4, f3 is a problem. So I guess I'll start with queen e8. The order probably doesn't matter, but queen d3 and rook e1 are now quite annoying. Okay, this gives me time to question their knight. I'm going to go from c6 because I think it's a little more active. And now I'm going to pop my knight into e4. If they trade, I then have time to play something like bishop f6 and put pressure on them. Okay, so I should have put the knight on d7, preventing this. Where to go? All right, I'm going to temporarily give a pawn because I feel I'm under some pressure. But if they take and I go knight g5, I thought I had threats after taking here. Right, this one I'm not down the pawn. So I will take. Ooh. But I am going to lose it soon. Very bad position. They should just take on d5. I'll play b6, aim for rook d8. Try to, at some point, maybe sneak my queen in behind their pawns because they have potentially vulnerable squares. Rook d3 slows them a turn, but I think they just play rook d1. So I'll play a knight here instead, hit b2. Okay. I don't want to be down material, so I'm happy to make a grab. Maybe I can try to start sneaking in. My knight is very loose. It only has a4. But my idea was rook d8 and potentially the rook comes in usefully. I'm still on c4. These pawns make my king feel pretty safe until they play f5. But if they haven't played f5 yet, I feel I have time to maneuver. Where to put my knight? f5's coming. Alright, I'm going to pull the knight out. Maybe come to c3. Okay. So on f5, I'm just going to leave the pawn. I'm not going to touch it. I don't want to advance past because f6 check would win my queen. I will just let them take and hope that I can find some semblance of security with my king. I'm blundering f8 at the end. Rook f8. This was not good. How many checks do I have? Just the one. Alright, I can resign here. Yeah, and I will. Okay, 0 for 1. I should not have put the knight on c6, but I was also overly confident that the g6 pawn structure wouldn't be a problem and white had a quick way to attack it, and I did not find adequate ways to defend it. That's a curious move. Makes me really want to play h4, h5 just because these pawns on the light squares all look so vulnerable to me. They just look odd with the, my opponent is putting no effort into keeping the dark squares under control except for their bishop. So if I trade bishops, they will have no control of those squares. Now I threaten knight f6. I guess they think it's no big deal. I think it's kind of a big deal. Queen h6. Checkmate. Alright. 1 for 2. That was quick. They should not have traded their dark squared bishop off, and certainly not for the knight. If they were going to trade it, it should be for my dark squared bishop. Okay, the French did me badly. Back to the Caro. What if I get known as a Caro-Can player? That would be very weird. I've been a Sicilian player all my life. But I've gotten nice positions and results so far. Right, threatening bishop c5. I think this opponent's playing better than previous ones have. Though I thought probably bishop e3 for white there. Okay. Ooh. They hit c6 and g4. Oh. And c5 is loose. Ah, I have blown it. This might be the problem with the bishop g4 stuff. Because I think now I have to... Because if bc6, queen c6 check, I can't save the bishop. So I think I have to play king f8 to avoid resigning immediately. And down a pawn. But not busted. At least I don't think busted. If bishop e3, I would take it... Ah, nice move. Just preparing bishop a3. Alright, so my king will have a little run to... nope, can't go there immediately. Got to get my rook out of trouble first. Okay, so rook c8. I think I have to play... Can't play rook c6 just because of queen takes. I don't want to take on d6 because pawn takes, knight moves d7. Yeah, so I think I have to play bishop c7 to force the action. Alright, down a pawn. Do not really have compensation, but we can pretend their double death pawns are a potential weakness. I have a bishop. I can, for instance, play bishop a5 and try to inconvenience their pawns. Now d4. Am I getting a pawn back? No, they have rook c1. But then I can play rook d8. I have a bunch of pressure. So I think I found a reasonable way to extricate myself. Okay, so there I point is they're just going to stick their king on c2. I don't think I mind. Yeah, I like rook d8, because if we trade rooks, then their knight has no squares, because it can't take on c3, because I'll just go back and pin it. If it comes to a3, my idea was rook d2. Do I still want rook d2? Maybe not, because the knight's coming to c4. That's a good point. So rook d2, rook takes, pawn takes check, knight c4. I don't see a good way to progress, so instead I'm going to switch targets. d6 is potentially annoying, so I'm going to come back. Bit low on the clock. Maybe I want a quick f6. Alright, the knight is pinned. So if rook takes, maybe I play king takes. Maybe I have to play bishop takes. Alright, gonna try to undermine quickly. They're getting their majority going quickly, which is smart. So I have to try to create something on the other side. Right, rook c8 threatens bishop e5 and means I can take on b6. They can just move their king though. What am I doing? Am I accomplishing anything? Alright, we'll keep b6 under control for a moment. Alright, no rook coming in. I don't threaten anything now, and my pieces are very tied down. So it seems not very hopeful. I guess my king has to come this way so that rook f6 doesn't win e6. Is g5 and h6 useful? No, probably not. I guess I'll get my rook behind the pawn. Okay, for the moment my bishop has that under control. They could play like knight a5 to c6. Of course I'm in trouble on the clock. If knight a5 I'll probably play king d7. Then rook checks are very annoying to meet. I can also take an e5 there. Alright, gonna start pushing my pawn. Should have taken on e5, but, you know, not much time. Knight c6 now threatens knight e7. That's very annoying. And potentially rook d8s. So I have to move my rook. Let's go here. If rook g1, I'm going to play rook f5. Try to take here, but this is going to be a loss. They have no good checks, I don't think. That's a check for me, not for them. Alright, well now if I trade off their knight, I do win. And by win, I mean don't lose. Alright, so now the king's on the opposite. The bishop's on the wrong square. The bishop needs to control the queening square for this to be a win, so it's just a draw. But I am pleased I didn't lose that one. Alright, a half out of 2. Went wrong in the opening. Maybe I can't play that early bishop g4 in the exchange. I hadn't been punished for it before. I should go back and look at that after. Alright. Ooh, meant to play bishop b5 against this. Okay. We'll give a pawn. I'm going to give the pawn back immediately. They don't want it. Okay. I just want to get people out of their kind of nominal comfort zone. Does knight b5 do anything? It's curious. I think it's bad. Knight b5, queen a5, c3, knight takes b5, bishop takes c5, knight takes c3. Yeah, it doesn't look so good. Okay, let's make a normal useful move. They can regain the pawn on d5. Oops. I guess I'll defend. Alright, trying to keep it simple. I do not like playing against these pawn sacks. I think I handle them very poorly. So I am trying to, totally willing to give back the pawn. Not going to try too hard to hold on to stuff. Actually, what's their knight doing? They might have to play like queen b6, and then I have knight a4. So if I snuck into a random win out of the opening here? I think so. Curious. Okay, here I can just take on d4 though. I guess they take back, then take on c4. Okay, fair enough. Do I have anything useful to throw in? I think I'm going to try to keep it simple. Don't want to take. I want to get castled. I just hate these positions. I don't know why. They get to me. Alright, but yeah, alright, knight e2. Just going to get castled. If rook b8, I don't want to castle queenside. Don't want to deal with things. Knight g3 useful to throw in? Yeah. Because then maybe if I castle and they play rook b2, I'll play knight e4 with the discovery on their rook. They can just take on c2 there. It's not anything great. What? Cool. Okay. They should take on c2 there. But they thought they had to get rid of the rook with tempo and then could win the knight, presumably. Alright. 1.5 out of 3. Let's play d4. Go for a queen's gambit. Let's avoid the Nimzo. Okay, against the Bogo, I'll try knight d2 and a quick eviction. I quite like the lines after bishop d2 for black. I should probably play those on stream sometime. But I think it's a little pointless because I picked most of them up from watching Greg Shahadi videos. And so if you want to see someone better play the lines, his videos are very available. Probably want to play b4 and bishop b2. Possibly not anymore, because they have bishop f6s. Okay, take. I don't want to allow knight d4. But knight f3, bishop g4, and knight b3 seems very weird. So do I have another good way to handle it? Bishop b1 keeps my rook trapped in. Queen d3 loses time to knight e5. Bishop d3 loses time to the same. So I guess I'll play knight b3 as kind of the least of all evils. And maybe look for c5 if I ever put a rook on the d file. Man, my position's awkward. I might even play like rook b1 just to get the bishop out without losing anything. Okay, I have knight d4, if a4. Would not be surprised if the computer is saying my position's unpleasant. Yeah, their bishop's going to be very good on c6, much better than my bishop. Going to further weaken the dark squares, which is always the correct strategy. Yeah, they're going to attack the pinned piece. Makes all the sense. The pinned pawn, I guess. At this moment, though, I can just sidestep and maybe get rid of some potential weaknesses. My pawn on c4 is pretty bad, because it can't be supported by other pawns. And my pawn on b2 is potentially weak, so queen d5 check, I can grab b7, but then they play rook b8 and grab b2, and I think my pawns are broken up more than theirs. I guess I get c7 too. Alright, I'm going to go for it. But I am very scared of getting mated on g2 after. I can take d6. So I am getting a lot of pawns for this. And they don't have a immediate infiltration, because I have like queen g3 or rook g4. Ooh. Did they clever me? So I could play king h1. And if queen f3, I have queen f8, king g2. And I have the two rooks. I can also play king g2, queen f3, king g1. They can't take on e4 because f8 hangs. So I think they have to play queen f2 there and accept a draw. Do I want to draw, or do I want to play for a win with king h1? I'm very low on time. I'm going to try to take the draw. I think this is, they have to draw. I don't think they have any choice here. If they made another move, what would I do? Not sure. Presumably move my e4 rook. Yeah. Alright. So the question is, did I have a way to play for more? After rook g2, which was a cute move, I missed it, can I play king h1? And the computer says king h1 is also a draw. King h1, queen takes f3, queen takes f8, queen takes f8, king takes g2. I was wondering if kind of rook here to here threats were enough. My a-pawn's hanging and that can be a problem. The computer's just giving dead draw. Alright, what are we at? 2 for 4? Alright, let's try to end positive. I'm going to try to stick a pawn on e5. And solidify it. I should probably wait for bishop b5 to make this move, because it kind of makes bishop b5 look a little silly usually. Alright, they're immediately aiming at the bishop. Probably have to advance. So knight c4 is going to hit hard. Bishop e5 loses to knight c6. Don't be silly. Alright, what if I take? You have to take back pawn in this moment. Have I achieved anything? Not sure, but you know, if knight c4, bishop e7, and then I can play d5. Should I go for bishop e7 anyway? Bishop f4? Is this a more active diagonal? I don't think so. Try to play d5, or maybe c6 and d5 now. One trap is if d3 I can take on a3 and play queen a5 check. Wasn't much of a trap, but it was something. Okay, let's, I guess, get my bishop out before they've played knight e3, and I'll drop back to g6. Maybe I should bring my bishop to f4. Okay, I can leave that. Not too concerned about it. Gonna take back bishop, I think. Could take back pawn as well. I don't really see the difference. Hello, cat. Don't know if you can hear her. Take back pawn. Give myself a wedge on the king side. To try to get activity from. I like queen e7. I like having a pawn on c6, even if it's isolated, because it controls this critical square. I can start thinking about moves like rook d8. Maybe bishop back to b8. Can think about queen c7 sometimes. Maybe I should have come to c7 just to give it this possibility. You can have the d-file. I'm dreaming of checkmate, so after, g3, I don't know that the dreams ever go anywhere. Alright, let's make a threat. Force g3, maybe play h5, h4. g3 was apparently not forced. Still think I'm going to game some kingside space. Okay. They don't threaten here, but they do threaten here and then either here or here. I'm going to start by contesting the d-file. They can grab a pawn, and they probably should. Alright, they're doing it this order. I think I'll take first. And then maybe queen f4. This looks like an active square. Maybe thinking about queen c1, though I don't want to hang queen c8 check, so I'll probably play king g7 at some point. Centralize the bishop. They want this trade. Don't know if I mind it. I get it on my terms? No. Okay, let's centralize the bishop. Think about bishop d4. Their queen can do some checks, but I figure their king will get in some trouble if they start grabbing. Is it not? I think it should. I think they have to play knight e3 now. Oh no, they win everything. Ah, what a disaster. Alright, 2 for 5. Did not play particularly good chess, but I think the whole talking while playing is just very useful, and it's like having a coach. You don't necessarily get the feedback, but you get to do all this description and explanation that I think is fundamentally good for your chess. So I really recommend it.